We have an amazing guest today. She is an inspiration, Jen Freeman. She was an OG seller at Salesforce. What's up, Jen? So good to have you.
Thank you.
And she went to President's Club 12 times. She got promoted 5 times. Now she's a sales trainer. Guys, we're getting a look inside the mindset and the methodology of one of the best sellers out there and someone who's lifting up a lot of people. So you got to pay attention for this whole conversation. You got to take notes, watch it a few times, and translate what you learn into action to be more successful. So for all the kings and the queens out there, let's get into it. Jen, thanks so much for being here. How's your day going? You said you were crunching some numbers before this.
Yes, Excel spreadsheet. I'm a spreadsheet junkie because I'm not good at math. And so I love spreadsheets. Just put in the little number and then it pops the outcome. And the bigger the number at the end, the bigger the deal. And I get really jazzed off that, as I'm sure does everyone on this call, including yourself.
We like making money here. I think some of our audience is pretty money motivated, and that's one of the beautiful things of this path in tech sales. You can make a lot of money, but I have to, kind of pull on the heartstrings in terms of beyond making good money. Are there any aspects of this path you've been on that you've destroyed it on that has generated meaning for you, basically being in the sales world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think something that's been really awesome for me was being the breadwinner and my family and being able to provide for my family in that way. And so we had this joke. So my husband and I, we've been together for 15 years. He is thank you. We'll have the keys to success in marriage. That will be in another session, Chris.
I need to hear that, but I'm at square one. So we'll talk after. I'll get a coaching session for that.
Oh, yeah. I'll just tell you the spoiler alert. The key is just be nice to each other. That's it.
Oh, okay. That's that. Hey, I love it.
So my husband is a serial entrepreneur. He's a startup guy, and working in software sales, if you work hard and you do well, you are rewarded handsomely. And so we had this joke in our marriage that I was the meal ticket and he was the lottery ticket.
I love it.
And we haven't won the lottery yet. We're still waiting.
But you got bread on the table. Thanks.
Got bread on the table. But as especially as a woman, it was so incredibly just confidence boosting for me and validating that I was a breadwinner in my family, and I was able to put the down payment on our house. We bought our dream home just outside of San Francisco. And, when we were going through all the paperwork and getting our mortgage, applying for our loan, it was like they didn't even put my husband on it because he was basically working for equity. And I had just finished the best year of my career to date when we bought our house. And it was like I qualified, for almost $1 million loan with my W-2. And it was, I gotta tell you, it was, and I think I was like maybe 33 or something at that point. And it was just, it was really validating. So being able to, have this beautiful home, and now I've got a family, I've got 2 kids here, and I feel a lot of pride in that.
It is truly inspiring, and you show us all what's possible. You can be you said the bread ticket.
The bread, the meal ticket.
Oh, the meal ticket. See, I'm getting confused, but I know who else is the meal ticket. My friend, former colleague in a way, Taylor, her husband is the entrepreneur, the lottery ticket, and she is the meal ticket. She's at AWS and she is crushing it. And so she's become a personal friend, but we worked before I left my W-2, I was at an AWS partner and she's at AWS. So we sold together. So shout out to Taylor, another queen who is crushing it. And it's such a fun note to start the conversation on. Now, I want to understand how you got to President's Club 12 times. I can't say I've done that. Most sellers have never done that or even dreamed of it. So we're going to hit them with some real value up front, and the conversation will flow beyond this to some great topics and specific sales methodologies. But what are some of the common threads of maybe your characteristics or mindset that got you there?
Yeah, totally. I always say that I'm not competitive, but I like to win. So when I was a kid, I grew up in Lake Tahoe, and I was a ski racer, and I was skiing from a really early age. And when you won a race, you got this like rad trophy, and you got to stand on the top of the podium, and everyone would cheer for you. And it was like, I really like standing on that podium.
Hey.
It just kind of continued into my career where, my first job was at Enterprise Renocar. So not like a sexy, hot startup or anything. But I did their management training program, and all the people, when you would go out and rent a car, right, to someone, you would try to sell them insurance or get them to upgrade to an SUV or whatever. And when you come back in, you would enter that monetary gain. And then there was a dashboard. And it was like, my goal was always to be at the top, right? I wanted to be at the top of the dashboard. And my colleagues called me the golden child because I was like so into it, and then, whoever, all the top performers would go to the Gold Club awards dinner. And like, that just got me really jazzed. And so that's when I realized like, oh, I really love sales. Like, this is kind of my calling. And so, I think it was just that spirit of loving to win that instilled at an early age. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep up with that through line.
You were the golden child early on. You clearly had a natural inclination to love winning and being up on the podium. It's funny, some people aren't wired that way. So anyone out there listening, like if you were wired similarly and Jen reminds you of yourself and you're not in tech sales, this might be a good path to hop onto, where you're going to actually feel very fulfilled and be able to apply your grit, your drive, your ambition. And so Jen, by the way, you were at Enterprise Renocar, which what a great place to go, because when I was at Oracle, I can't tell you how many people transitioned from there and were great sellers at Oracle. And so I think that's an interesting,
They call it the, Enterprise calls it the MBA without the IOU.
Oh, can you explain that a little bit for our audience? I kind of know what you mean, but
totally. Yeah. So an MBA, getting your master's in business, that costs a ton of money. So that's the IOU. But instead of going to graduate school to get a master's in business, the Enterprise Renocar program, basically it's a 1-year management training program, and they teach you all the different skills to run your own business. And so that's where I really kind of cut my teeth and learned about, being in business. And it's funny, actually, I think this will be really helpful for your audience, because I know there are a lot of folks looking to, transition even into tech sales. What happened to me at Enterprise is I realized I love sales. I was doing great in my career there, but then I hit the glass ceiling. I hit the top of my commission structure, and it was like, well, you're at the top. So you make any more. And I was like, what? Well, then what's my incentive to sell more if my commission is capped? And I was really frustrated by this, because I'm definitely someone who, I like to work hard and reap the reward. Yeah. And so, I started talking to different people, different recruiters, and I was living in the Bay Area at the time. Right. And, a recruiter says to me, all right, so you want to get into tech? Let me tell you this. At Google or at Facebook, the engineers are the kings and the queens there, right? They're rewarded and they're celebrated, and that's the culture. If you're in sales, the company you want to go to is Salesforce, because at Salesforce, the AEs are the kings and the queens. And that culture is celebrated there. And so knowing that I wanted to be in tech, or knowing that I wanted to be in sales, where can I go to the most lucrative place of sales? Yes. And then in tech, find the company that's going to really reward the salespeople and have that sales culture.
Jen, I heard the highest earning seller I've heard of, and a guy, I think it's either, Jamal, I had him on the podcast. It's either a Rhymer or Raymer. Do you know who I'm talking about? Jamal. He's the author of Mega Deal Secrets. He was at Oracle, but he mentioned how he coaches people, or it could have been our guy, Ian Cognac. Shout out to Ian. Long story short, I heard about a Salesforce seller making $8 million. So it's like, I know people that have made $1 million. My buddy just made 1.7 at this exciting data infrastructure company that's partnered with NVIDIA. So powering AI, and that's great. But to think that I heard of a Salesforce seller, now I think he sold one of the biggest deals in history that made $8 million. It really is the mecca of selling in tech, as you described, the most lucrative place to be. And by the way, Jen, you've inspired me. When I'm coaching people, I steal some of the things you say already. You don't know this, but I was coaching someone who came.
Those are trademarked.
Yeah, shoot. Sorry, Jen. But like, so I'm spreading the love. But there's a guy that came to me. He's at Salesforce. He wanted to go to Google, and now I sold at Google Cloud. And the thing is, people get enamored with the Google name. And I told him that where is the salesperson, king or queen? And it's like, it's where you're at, man. And so maybe appreciate where you're at. And don't think that just because it's Google that it's a better place to be within the context of selling. So I think that's a key thing to get.
Yeah.
Even I look at other companies, not to go down a rabbit hole, but like AWS. If I was going to different cloud providers, yeah, Google's a great name, but they actually own, much more market share, and they have more of a mature sales organization. So I just think that's a key concept you hit on. And now, shoot, I wanted to get back to the journey. I almost lost my train of thought, but now it's back. Here we go. We're back on the train.
You're allowed. You're allowed.
Can you? Yeah, this happened. I told you before this, I don't cut out any moments. And there was one time I literally lost my train of thought. I got it back and then I lost it again. And it was like 10 seconds and I kept it in the tape. So, okay, but I got it. Let's just dig into how you got to Salesforce though, because this is going to get a little juicy with you started to get into the big leagues. So what was the transition from Enterprise Renocar? Like, did they poach you? Did you network? What did you do?
No, nobody poached me. No one was knocking on my Enterprise Renocar door. No, I just did it the good old fashioned way. And I applied online. I knew 0 people who worked at Salesforce. I had 0 connections. I had no tech experience. I was like total rookie of the year, but I had selling experience. I had this like track record at Enterprise of building relationships and building trust. And I just had good numbers, right? And so I got a job at the most entry-level sales role there is at Salesforce. So it was an emerging small business AE. So I was selling to companies with less than 10 employees.
Now you were a closer though. So you skipped did they have SDRs or BDRs at the time?
Yeah.
You did skip a step, which is impressive.
I did skip
the closers.
Yeah. So I didn't have to go in those roles, but what was so cool is I started in the most entry level role. And then I stayed at Salesforce for 10 years. I absolutely loved my time there. And I was promoted 5 times. And so I went up into SMB, then mid-market, then commercial, then enterprise.
Wow.
And what's so incredible is like selling in those different segments is just so wildly different. It's such a different sales cycle. You're talking to such different stakeholders, and it's just a totally different process. And so I really feel like I have this unique perspective of the sales process throughout all these different types of companies.
Well, here we go. Let's dive in. You do have a unique perspective. Not everyone is sold across all these different segments. You started from the bottom, then you're up. You got to enterprise from SMB, and you hit mid-market in between. So let's start with SMB. What's the nature of an SMB role? Like, what's the sales cycles like, the types of customers, the unique pros and cons, just whatever comes to mind?
So what's so cool about SMB sales is the sales cycle is shorter, right? You close it quicker because it's a smaller deal amount. And because it's shorter, you just have more at bats. So if you're a new seller, especially, you get so many more opportunities to have that first discovery call. And those different at bats. Why are you laughing?
I'm smiling because do you notice they're like destroying our pool, and why did they wait to the summer basically? Or
is it loud?
Can you hear it? Because okay, good, because I was going to mute myself. So I'm laughing at that. And also because I think of my father, there's a tie-in. He was the top timeshare salesman, and he's Mr. like former baseball player, just get results. He would love SMB. He would hate enterprise with the long sales cycle. I talked to him. He's like, he couldn't because we'll get to that later of how you got to be real patient. But that's why I was smiling, and so it was on me. But oh my gosh, we're having fun. Okay, go ahead.
I'm kind of funny sometimes, and I'm like, oh, maybe I said something funny.
No.
Okay. So SMB sales is you get so many at bats, and you're talking to the decision makers. You're talking to the CEO, and so you can just move the deal so much quicker. And the other great thing is these small companies, they're just learning, they're just getting started, and so your expertise is like highly valued there, and your point of view, because you're like, I got something, I know the secret to success, and you really feel like you have equal business stature in those kinds of sales cycles. Then when you move up into kind of the mid-market and commercial space, that's also pretty quick moving. But what's nice in that space is the people that you're selling to just have more experience. They kind of know how to run through a sales cycle. They've done it before. A lot of times you'll ask them questions about, different data that they have, and they'll have the answers because there's just more infrastructure in place. And that's where you get, more team selling. You might have, different leaders or different people from your organization selling with you, a little bit more of a complex sales process. And so a lot of learning happens in that kind of mid-market commercial space. It's actually one of my favorite spaces to sell in because you can still be quick and nimble, but you get a little bit more of a chunky deal size. The enterprise space is totally different. So the enterprise space has much more seasoned sellers. And the deal cycles are long and they're complex and they're political. So there's a lot of different factors that just don't even involve you or your product or your sales technique that might get in the way. And for a lot of sellers, that can be really frustrating because there's a lot less control, but it's also much, much higher stakes, much higher deal cycles, right? Or much larger amounts that you can close. And so that's also pretty exciting. But all different kinds of spaces, all pros and cons to each.
Yeah, and the enterprise space can be so lucrative. So obviously that guy that made 8 million at Salesforce was the enterprise space, probably doing, who knows if it was $1 billion. Some deals get as big as $1 billion or more. But I'm just laughing again, thinking back to my dad, he would hate it because he's immediate gratification guy. Like get close. SMB would be great for him because otherwise, as you're describing with enterprise, it could take 6 months. It could take a year or more than a year. It
could take multiple years. And if you actually do the math on that, you might have, one of my old leaders was the AE for a Google deal that took him 3 years.
Wow.
So for 3 years he was building and he was getting like more or less goose eggs, right? On his position. So you got to be able to, take those months of not getting a lot of commission in order to get that big kahuna at the end that hopefully you get.
And I remember my buddy Andrew Colebrook, he closed a $50 million deal and it took like a year, but he'd like vent to me. It's like, I don't know if this is worth it. This is so difficult. The CFO shut the deal down. He thought it was going to blow up and it was so stressful, but he got it. And I mean, you can make a lot of money, but two, there is a certain pride and there's the grit that you show, the delayed gratification and it being strategic. So I think it unlocks some great mindset and even it develops character. But I believe that, Jen, by the way, just if we get kind of deep in personal growth, it's like some of those meaningful things in life are the ones things you got to struggle for, Like, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. I'm just projecting my own kind of rah-rah mentality, but is there anything you'd add to that? You don't have to. I'm just floating.
No, you know what I'm thinking about because I have little kids. I have a 7-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, and so we watch a lot of Disney movies, right? Yeah. And what always happens in the movie is like you start and you get aligned with the characters and you really grow to like them, and then something bad happens and they're in like this really big struggle, and it's like, how are they going to get through? And then they get through it and it's all happy in the end. So whenever I'm like having a hard time at work and now I'm starting my own business and I have really hard days, and I always think to myself, I'm like, I'm in the part of the movie right now where I'm like struggling and it's like not pretty. And it's like, everyone's like, oh my God, is she going to make it? Like, what's going to happen? Like,
he's going to make it.
Hey, sometimes I just think like I'm in that part of that movie, but like, we're going to get to the part where you look back and you're like, oh, wow, I got through that, and perseverance.
That's so encouraging to me too, because I'm in that with you. The week ago I had a day I was like groaning. I'm like, this is tough because both of us went all in, and so can you tell us, real quick, you're the sassy sales coach. So let's just talk a little bit what you do. And because then I'd want to, as a teaser for the audience, we're going to talk about just high level, how you got promoted 5 times. I bet there's some principles and things that helped you get promoted. Then we're going to talk about, you actually taking a break from tech sales to be there for your family, which is very inspiring. And then we're going to get into the Sandler sales methodology, the methodology that actually they train at Oracle that I shaped my whole career. And you've got very specific insights. It's based on psychology and even, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like approaches that people can take away from this conversation and immediately apply. So that's a roadmap, but let's start with the sassy sales coach and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I took some time off of the corporate world, and when I decided to get back into it, I decided, okay, I want to be my own boss. I want to have a flexible schedule. I don't want to work. I don't want to work full time. 50-hour weeks. Not that a full time job should be 50 hours. You should be able to try to do it in 40.
A top performer like you, though, I mean, I just actually ask you, is that like is that what you typically put in? I just want to know the reality of a 12
Actually,
club winner.
You know what? I'll tell you. I will tell you the reality, and I'll be totally honest.
Yeah.
I never worked more than 40 hours a week.
Well, that's huge. I mean, whoa.
And no nights, no weekends. I mean, occasionally, yes, but I will say, especially because I was married to I am married to a startup founder. The workload was reasonable. The workload was reasonable. It's like a 9 to 5. I don't feel like I was, like some of these horror stories where people are like, I'm working 60 or 80-hour weeks. I think I just like say 50. So it sounds like I was working really hard.
Okay. No, this is good news for the audience. It's like, guys, you can be going to President's Club year in, year out and get promoted 5 times, and you're working 40 hours like a normal job. And by the way, one thing I was going to mention early in the conversation is I'm super excited. One of my partners, as I call the individuals who join my program rather than students, we're partners. Like at Starbucks, you talk about partners.
Yes.
He had his final round today with an LMS software company, and they got a good culture, some good enablement. We were up yesterday working on his presentation, and it went really well. So I am hopeful that he's going to get this. And the tie-in is he actually is trading place with us. We're entrepreneurs now, we're coaches, but he was an entrepreneur, and he's like, this is a grind. I'm ready for what you described, the 40-hour weeks where you need really stable, even better than stable income. And so it's interesting. It depends on seasons, but there's entrepreneurs that want to be where you were, and to be able to use tech sales, that vehicle. So another kind of fun tie-in. But let's bring it back. Like the sassy sales coach, you're all in, you're grinding, you have a wealth of experience to bring to the table. What else? Like where are you at? What's the vision, and who are you working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you a funny thing about the entrepreneur versus corporate world thing that I saw, that someone said, I didn't quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Meaning when you leave the corporate world and you become an entrepreneur, sometimes it's like more than you bit off.
And that's why I was literally groaning. That has hit me. I can't, it's like in my mind, it doesn't stop. So anyways, that's coping for later, but
So I'll tell you where I'm at now. So, I took a step back from the corporate world, from Salesforce, for a little while to be a full-time mama, and most important job there is, raising.
We talk about that though. We're on it. We got to go a little deeper because that's very meaningful.
Yeah. So it's funny. I had worked 20 years straight as a salesperson.
Wow.
Never taken any time off. So it was like I left, my enterprise Renocar job on a Friday, and I started at Salesforce on a Monday. It was like I worked straight. And it was actually my husband who said he started his 3rd startup. And instead of working for all equity or mostly equity like he had done in the past, he negotiated like a grown-up person's salary. And we had this kind of family meeting where, I was also working full-time at Salesforce, and we had a full-time nanny who was, working at our house 40 hours a week. And it was just a grind for both of us. And he goes, you could maybe take a step back for a little while. I'm making enough now. And I think like we wouldn't be saving, but we could probably make it work. And it's like the idea had never even occurred to me to do something like that, and I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. And so I'm like, okay, let me see. But I had defined myself by my career. I told you I was the breadwinner and the down payment on my house. And being a successful seller brought me a ton of confidence. Like, Chris, I'm telling you, I had some swagger, like I had.
Tell us about that swagger.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you want to see this swagger? Okay. See this ring?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a Cartier ring with diamonds that cost, I'm going to tell you, it cost $8,000.
Yeah.
And I did not pay for it. Salesforce paid for it.
Oh,
And
that's
here's
sick.
what happened. Here's what happened.
Wait, that's a fun fact. Like that, this is
Yeah.
insider stuff, you
I
know?
should have started with that.
40 hours. This should be our viral title. Like 40 hours a week at Salesforce, 12 times Friends Club, Cartier ring included. Like, I don't know.
Cartier ring with the bling. No, so get this. So
Awesome.
so in my time at Salesforce, we made a ton of acquisitions,
Yeah.
like 10 or 12 acquisitions, big ones. And so there were constantly like new products that we were learning, new go-to-market strategies, and the AEs all had to be enabled in it, right? And so there were always all these cool spiffs. Sell this new product and you qualify to win XYZ. And of course, you know me, I wanted to be at the top of the podium. Remember, I wanted to be at the top of the leaderboard. So I'd go all in on these new products, right? And so there was this spiff for one of them. A spiff is like a contest, and it was for a trip to Cartier, and you got to pick out a Cartier watch, or I chose a ring. And so I won the spiff with about 10 other sellers. And so get this. We go to Cartier in downtown San Francisco, fancy Cartier store next to like Gucci and Prada and all the others. It's 6 o'clock at night. So the store is closed to the public. We get to go in. We're with a bunch of sales leaders as well. We get to go in. They have waiters with champagne they're passing around. They have Cartier employees helping us look at watches and try on different jewelry, see what we like. And we have a credit for $8,000 to pick out whatever we want in the store. And so I picked out this amazing ring. And I felt like, normally when you get engaged or that type of thing, you get your engagement ring. And I was like, this is symbolic because this is me giving myself a ring because I earned this, right? I earned this. This is mine. Wow. And it felt so, I just felt like I was on, like, I did this, and talk about like going to a culture we talked about where the salespeople are rewarded. Like that was pretty amazing. That was pretty.
And in the arena of sales, you were able to deliver results based on working hard, working smart, your skill set, and build actually healthy self-esteem, like a healthy pride founded in that you're delivering and you're putting in the work. And that's cool that like, that is one of the products of this path is that you got that swagger and it's something you carry with you and you get the Cartier ring. That is so cool. Like, yeah, I got a baseball bat from Oracle. So I hit like 120% of quota, but like, that's still cool, right? But it's not a Cartier ring.
Someone from Salesforce legal department's going to like see this and like call me up and be like, you're not at liberty to be giving out that messaging. Like,
But no, this is what it's all about, being real, like insider perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I did want to get into like some of the keys to getting promoted. Like, because again, we'll dig more into what you're doing from a coaching perspective. And I want to encourage the audience, welcome you to check out Jen on LinkedIn, check out her site, any resources that she has. We're going to link it right in the description of the video. So it's easy to check out and you can follow up. I encourage you to reach out to her, Jen, we could dive into just kind of keys to getting promoted, because that's pretty unique that you got promoted 5 times.
Yeah. And this is actually a really great segue because we talked about confidence and sales is all about confidence, right? We know that, your listeners know that. And selling brings you a lot of confidence. And one of the things that I was exposed to really on in my career at Salesforce was Sandler sales training.
Yes.
So many folks listening might be familiar. Sandler is kind of the OG sales training methodology. It's literally was founded by David Sandler in 1967.
Yeah.
Right. And it's based on human psychology, communication, and trust building. So it's like very timeless, and a lot of different, there's all kinds of sales methodologies and sales trainings now. And I've gone through so many of them, and most of them are kind of spin-offs of this same kind of, communication techniques and what have you. And when I started at Salesforce, I was an SMB AE, and Salesforce decided to bring in Sandler, and we went big on the methodology. So our entire commercial sales team, like talking hundreds and hundreds of reps, we all were standardized on this selling methodology, and this was our playbook. And it's all about creating confidence in sellers and giving them the tools that they need to be confident sellers. So you're not like picking up the phone and like, hi, Mr. CEO, can I have some of your time? Sorry to bug you. No, it's equal business stature. They're vying for your time just as much as you want theirs, right? And so Salesforce went all in on this training. We were all coached and trained on it. And honestly, Chris, that was the key to my success. Like I really bought into this. I used this methodology on all of my sales calls and all of my cycles. And it's truly what contributed to my success as a seller.
The key is, though, I believe you were coachable. You were a sponge. You learned and then you translated to action, because I bet there were others like you that got the training, but they didn't translate it into results. So is there anything you could share around how the rubber met the road in terms of how you took what you learned and applied it? Because we're going to get into the methodologies so that our audience has an opportunity to actually produce better results. But tell us about that.
Tech sales is an amazing career path where you can make as much as doctors and lawyers without having to cut anyone open or work ungodly hours. Looking back 10 years later, having personally started out in tech sales at Oracle, then moved to Google Cloud and a startup, and now fully launching into entrepreneurship, I can say with confidence that tech sales transformed my life through the income that it produced, the skill development, the connections, and the self-development that I unlocked along the journey. If you're someone who wants to strategically build your own six-figure tech sales career without wasting valuable time and earnings potential, then consider Tech Sales Accelerator and our 12-week programs as your blueprint. Our partners are breaking in and crushing quota at top companies like Oracle, Google Cloud, VMware, and Salesforce, leveraging our in-depth video content, one-on-one coaching, community, and network access. And we'd love to partner with you too to accelerate your own success on this path. If you'd like to learn more about Tech Sales Accelerator and our programs, then feel welcome to book time at my Calendly link, linked in the description of this video, and we'll walk you through all the details. Or just download my free cold calling system that's going to help you crush the phones quickly, also linked in the description of this video. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Sometimes sellers can have big egos. You know what I mean?
I can have a big ego. I struggle with it.
No,
I
we all
see this view on LinkedIn DMs, and I feel like, my ego's flaring up.
No, it's not. It's not. You were a very humble and modest guy.
The ego's a real thing. So
no, it totally is. No, and I say that for a reason, because I've been in so many sales trainings, and you can look across the room at your peers, and there are always those people who have their cell phone out or have their computer out and they're multitasking. They're like, I don't need this. Well, for me, I was new. I was new in tech sales. I had just started in this emerging small business role. And I was like, dude, this is the creme de la creme sales company, and I want to crush it here. And I honestly, I felt a little imposterish, right? Because there's all these other people who've like been in tech and who have done it. And I was like, dude, I gotta learn how to do this quick.
Yes.
So I really paid attention, right? Like I sat in the front row and I raised my hand and I listened. And what's really cool about Sandler training that's different than some other methodologies is they really emphasize reinforcement. So you learn a given skill, right? And then you use it every day in your sales cycles. And what was really cool is I learned these skills when I was in SMB, remember? So I had so many discovery calls. I had so many negotiation calls because there were all these small deals. So you have more of them. And so I had that opportunity to practice and then practice and practice again. And I also said that Salesforce went big into Sandler. And so rather than just kind of like a one and done training, that's kind of it. What Sandler does and what Salesforce bought into is like, no, you take the training and then you practice it and then we coach against it. And so it's like it's like that constant cycle of like train, practice, coach, and then, hopefully win the deal. But, I just think you have to actually practice it. And here's a quote that a manager told me a long time ago, which is, you have to slow down to speed up. So the reps who were in the training with their computers out, they wanted to speed up and close their deals. And they were like, I don't have time. I don't have time to listen to this training and like work on my skills because I'm trying to close this deal and I just don't have time for that. But if you just slow down and you say, no, this is going to help me be better. I have to spend the time practicing.
Yes.
I have to block that like hour on my calendar so that I can like write down my 30-second commercial, or like truly prepare for my discovery call and what my, my pain funnel. I'm giving you like little Sandler tidbits, but you have to, you got to slow down and do that stuff. And so that's kind of my advice to those listening.
Sandler shaped my whole sales career. And, it started out at Oracle. So it's interesting how Salesforce and Oracle, some of the greatest sales organizations in tech, went big on Sandler. Yeah. And I read the book, You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, which is the Sandler sales methodology. And the metaphor of, you don't read about riding a bike, you get on the bike, you fall off, skim your knee, and you get back on, and you learn through doing. And so what you said about reinforcement, and this is a testament to the importance of the coaching that you provide as a sassy sales coach. And hey, I'm a coach too. It's like we're helping not just train once and translate some concepts, but reinforce through continual coaching and support. Is there anything you would add in terms of how you work with your clients, for example, to reinforce concepts?
Role play.
Yeah.
Role play. So even on the Sandler team, I'm a contractor for the enterprise team at Sandler.
Oh, you're in the enterprise and the big
yeah,
right.
I'm on the enterprise team. So we do role plays every Friday. It's Friday role play, and we literally get on and we role play different sales scenarios using Sandler methodologies. And so, like, you practice. You practice what you preach. And it is so helpful to just try that out. So many people will get on a sales call and just not be totally prepared, or they're like, no, I got it. And they're kind of winging it. Don't wing it, right? Like, I do a lot of public speaking, and that's actually kind of part of my offering as well, is doing different speaking engagements.
Oh, that's where I want to be. Tell us.
Yeah, totally. The advice I give people is, I'm like, you get up there, you put your little iPhone on a podium, and you record yourself doing the speech, doing the talk, and then watch yourself.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And give feedback. And, you want that in your bones, in your memory, right? And, see what filler words you're using, see what your body language looks like, your tone and inflection. And the only way to get it right, the only way is to practice. Like, that's it. That's the secret. Just practice. That's it.
Practice. And
think about like athletes, right? When I was at the Sandler Selling Summit in Florida, Dave Mattson, who's the, president of Sandler, he did this whole thing about practice, and he was comparing it to like Olympic athletes. Right. Think of an Olympic athlete. Think about like Michael Phelps for swimming, right? He practices so much for so many years and so many hours just for that swimming event that's like 25 seconds long or whatever, And so it's like, we have to think of ourselves the same way. Like, it is so hard, especially now, to get in front of a decision maker, to get that call with the CEO or whomever you're trying to get in front of. Don't F it up. Don't F it up when you get the opportunity. Like, you got to be ready.
Yes.
And so you've got to practice. You've got to practice your sales track. You've got to be.
You're so right. This is like one of the most fundamental principles.
Yeah.
That separates high performers from the average, and it like compresses time in terms of our skill development when we role play and practice. So I'm so glad we emphasize this, because I have my own metaphors, and I'm stealing this. And we'll talk about that comment on LinkedIn from that guy who said I stole from Sandler. We're going to talk about that. We get to talk about that next. But so I think of Steph Curry, greatest 3-point shooter of all time. He's made more 3 points in the game than anyone.
Yeah.
The 3 points he's made, and even those he took, including those misses, are such a small percentage of the 3-pointers he's taken in his life outside of the court. He didn't wait till game time to practice. Yeah. He was ready. And so it's the same with the cold calls and the discovery calls. So I had to throw in that little metaphor. We really are. It's overused, but I love it. We're corporate athletes, aren't we, in sales?
And you know what? Now, because you threw that in, I have to throw this part in.
Yeah, let's go.
My son's middle name is Brady, after Tom Brady, the greatest.
What a stud.
the greatest quarterback of all time. So, so this is like a fun story, and it really shows my ethos and my core value, which is grit. And it's like, you ask, how did I get to President's Club 12 times? Grit, right? Practice.
Let's define this. I have an idea of what it is, but I want to hear your definition, and maybe you have a story, but what is grit to you?
Totally. Oh my gosh. And there's an amazing Angela Duckworth TED talk about grit, and how that's like the number one thing that they find in kids who are successful. That quality of having grit is what contributes to success. Not being smart, not coming from a, high pedigree family or going to the best school. It's grit. And here's my Tom Brady story, which is that my husband's a freakish Patriots fan. We got together. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm rooting for the Patriots. And I started becoming a big fan too. And so we watch all the games, big Brady fans. In 2017, the Patriots had the greatest comeback of all time.
Oh, so I remember that. Against the Falcons.
Yes, against the Falcons.
I was eating chicken wings with my buddy Vince on his bed. Too much information, with like 30 chicken wings. I remember vividly, and it was like, oh my gosh, greatest.
That's hilarious. I love that you remember that moment.
I vividly remember it because it's the chicken wings. It helps the smell, right? They say it helps us remember.
Yes.
Actually, that's a real thing.
that is a real thing. That is a real thing.
Yeah.
So I am 6 months pregnant with my son, with my first kid. And my husband and I make this joke before the Super Bowl. We're like, oh, maybe if the Pats win, we'll call him Brady, right? We just joke. And it's the third quarter. And as you know, but maybe not everyone knows this because they weren't eating chicken wings and remembering, but it's the third quarter and the Patriots are down 28-3. In the Super Bowl.
Holy cow.
Literally, fans are leaving the stadium. Everyone's like, the game's over. The Pats have lost. And I'm like super pregnant and hormonal. And I'm literally crying. And I'm holding my belly. And I'm like, you're not going to be a winner. Like I'm crushed. We're crushed. And then the greatest comeback of all time. Tom just keeps throwing these like little ones down the field. Score. And we come back, the Pats come back, and they win the freaking Super Bowl. And it's the greatest comeback of all time. And we're like, that's it. We are calling him Brady. And the reason this is so important is that a lot of there are the haters who don't love Tom Brady and Deflategate and whatever. I've heard it all. Yeah. But here's the thing about Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the 6th round draft pick for the NFL. He was this scrawny little guy that no one cared about. He was no name. He's a terrible runner. He's not that strong. He's not that tall. He's not that athletically inclined, really. Yeah. But you know what he has? He has freaking grit. He works harder than anyone. He puts in more time, more dedication than anyone. He watches more game tape. And so that's how he became the best, is because he just practiced more than everyone else. And so if you want to be the best seller, it's exactly the same thing. You just have to practice more than everybody else. You'll get there. That's it.
Powerful story and tie-in. Like, if this is worth the price of admission to this conversation, if anyone just takes away to embody being gritty, and this is character level stuff, that's going to make all the difference. I think of my boy Michael over at Ramp, that he broke into tech sales at Ramp, one of the best fintech unicorns. And I have to say, I'm proud that he claims the YouTube, he watched it for a year and it helped him there. Now he's going up for AE. Isn't that amazing? He sent me a message and he came on the podcast.
Wow.
This is why I went all in. It's like, this is so meaningful. And so he just didn't, though, get the AE role, right? And he has the grit. He's crushing in his role. They passed him over for this specific role. Ramp is one of the best, and it's very competitive.
Yeah.
He specifically mentioned Tom Brady, and he said, I feel like Tom Brady picked late. And so what a tie-in. Shout out to Michael. Has the killer mentality. I told him, like, sometimes you don't get something, and it was so you could get a better opportunity, because, brother, your success is inevitable. You've already proven it, but you were going to do great things. And so what another great tie into the Tom Brady metaphor. And there's a lot of people out there that are Tom Brady's in the making, the Tom Brady's of tech sales, or that I'm trying to think of, like, sort of Tabitha Brady. Tabitha's
that's like a hashtag. We gotta like trademark that.
Yeah. And so anything you want to add? Because I see I'm managing the time. We have like 16 minutes, and I do want to dig into some, you've got so much to share with Sandler and some tactics and things. So, but anything else you want to add on that point, or otherwise we'll flow to Sandler?
No, let's flow.
Okay. So the thing is, though, I do have to acknowledge, I did a cold call post today that authentically was like, this is a cold call opener that has led to most of my business over the years. And now it's shifted a little bit. And a guy's like, don't be a fake. You got that from Sandler. And I actually commented, my ego wanted to be rude. And I've actually been kind of, sometimes you get comments like that. And I just said like, oh, Sandler actually did really positively shape my style, and it had a big influence on me. So I think I was like, I did well. Just have, but what's your take on that? Because it's such a amazing, like you said, methodology, universal principles that have influenced this whole industry. And some say the best artists steal, but it's not like I meant to, like, I'd also, like, I had shaped it on my own. I kind of innovated. But what are your thoughts when you hear a comment like that?
You could just reverse it and and say, oh, hey, yeah. How do you know about Sandler? Have you taken their training before?
Interesting.
And maybe kind of put it back on them and see what they do. That's actually a Sandler technique called
and this is a perfect segue then. Because people say things like that, and it is what it is. And in sales, you got to be gritty. You got to have thick skin, be resilient, not take things personal, and build the swagger like you have through your proven success.
Yeah.
And so, but let's talk about this. Would you call it a technique? I know there's different tactics.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Can you describe this one, and then I have some specific questions for some of the other aspects of the Sandler methodology.
Yeah. So the pattern interrupt is basically catching them off guard by responding with something that a seller typically wouldn't do. So a lot of Sandler, it's all based on human psychology, and you really have to reinforce the behavior, because it's really changing all the behavior that you know as a salesperson, and doing things a little bit differently. And so the pattern interrupt basically just breaks up the customers or the prospects like autopilot response. So like, here's an example. When you go into a store to buy some clothes, and the person says, "Hey, can I help you find anything?" What do you say?
I'm good.
You really? But didn't you go into the store to buy something? You were maybe looking for a new suit or a jacket or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Person up to you, "I'm good." You're like, "Get away from me. I don't want to answer your questions. You're going to like hard sell me," right? You just have this inclination to like not want to talk to someone. And so here's how it works. You surprise them. And so let's say you're talking to a prospect and they say, "We're happy with our current vendor."
Yes, that's a good one.
That's a good one, right? That happens all the time. And normally, what would someone start doing? They like features, benefits. "Oh, but ours is so good. Like, let me tell you about that." Instead of doing that, you go, "That makes sense. That makes sense. If you're happy with what you're using, that's great. So maybe we just part ways." Right? And you say, "But if you want to spend 15 minutes, we can just spend some time, make sure I'm not missing anything." Right?
Okay. So you're not resisting them where you're pushing back like, "Oh, but what about, we're different. I swear this, that." You're actually,
maybe they say like, "Your price is too high." And instead of saying, "Oh, no, but there's so much value in it," you're like, "You know what? It is. We're not the low price leader in the market." Is price the most important thing to you? Right? So it's like you're kind of acknowledging what they're saying and kind of putting it back on them with a question, instead of doing what they expect you to do, which is just like start like justifying and like saying, no, hold on, right? So you're acting differently than they're expecting a seller.
Yeah, and you're on equal playing footing, like you described. That's a key part of the methodology, and it reminds me of Jeb Blunt's book, Sales EQ.
Yeah.
He actually mentions something like that. So of course you're going to see parallels with what he has in his book versus Sandler. And it's because these are, like you said, they're universal principles, but he mentions something like the pattern interrupt you're describing. And so, no, that's really great. And you even sat with the silence with me. There's something to be said for that.
Why I was actually sitting with the silence with you is because I was like, "Ooh, shoot, that wasn't really a good example." If sellers have been doing it for so long, and they are like, oh, they're like such smooth operators. And you're just like, oh my God, tell me more, tell me more. And that's my goal. I just joined Sandler. You know, I took Sandler and I practiced it, but now as I want to be a Sandler trainer and a coach, it's like, I got to get this stuff like what we talked about. I have to practice it like crazy because
You're
my
right.
goal is to be like the best Sandler coach that there is. And so as you can see, I still need some practice. And so you're giving me a really nice at bat right now, Chris.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm getting at bats. That's the beauty of this podcast. I get at bats as well. And it's fun to come together to do that because I'm trying to be is like you, the best coach.
Yeah.
And eventually I want to train, and we're always learning. And my mentor, who I'm a little bit ego driven for sure. And it's like I flash. He exited 3 companies. He was in tech sales. He sold NetSuite and all that. You know, look at him. He's so great. But he always tells
What's his name?
Dean. Shout out to Dean Zarilla. He's actually dropping a book called The Founder Sales Trap. Or no, Selling Without You. How to get out of the founder sales trap to like build a scalable sales engine as a founder and then remove yourself. So, I mean, this guy's next level. But he's like a seller that became an entrepreneur in building companies, and he's a mentor to me. And I'm just saying, he's like, you never master sales. So he has the humility, like we never we're always learning, you know, but I did like that, the examples and what you did with the like, yeah, we're not the cheapest option in the market. It's like, ideally you're at a company where we're selling a valuable solution, and which means you're going to make some good money, but it's valuable and it's expensive because it's like really good. Like at Oracle, we had that all the time. It was very relevant. They'd say like, your price is too high.
Totally.
And it's like, well, we also invented the best relational database at the time, especially on premise, you know, and it's really valuable and supports the top companies in the world. And so what you said is like, oh, is price what's most important to you? That was a beautiful question. And then you can understand like, oh, well, not necessarily, oh, what is important to you? And then maybe you find like a specific, I don't want to say features and benefits, but there could be some like business outcome they're driving towards. And there's obviously technology that enables it, but you can understand what else is important. And then maybe setting the price aside, like you can find that fit to support. And is that a Sandler thing, by the way, to say fit or no? Because I just feel like that word fit, hear it all the time. There's these nice little, you know, there's these little words.
Maybe a little bit. And actually I'll take this one further and I'll give you another Sandler tactic, which is called the negative reverse.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah. So the negative reverse would be, Chris, if that scenario where we said, oh, you know, we're not the low cost leader in this space, you know, is price the most important thing to you? And the customer said, oh, no. Or the customer's like, well, I don't know. It is pretty important
to us, actually.
And then you would say, well, then it might not make sense for us to continue the call because that's not kind of where we are in the space. And so price is the most important. I would recommend that maybe we part ways. And if your situation changes, I'm happy to reconnect again.
Oh.
And it's kind of like a poker play, right? Like you're kind of saying like, hey, because remember, you're qualifying them just as much as they're qualifying you. Why do you want to spend all this time in a sales cycle when they just are going to go for the cheapest vendor? So you have to bring that up front. I always say this is not a Sandler thing. This is a sassy sales coach thing.
Yeah.
I always say I'm an elephant in the room kind of girl.
Yeah.
Meaning, like when there's an elephant in the room, like just bring it up now and save everyone time, right? And that's what the negative reverse does. It's like you kind of give them permission to say, you know what? Maybe we're not a good fit, and that's cool. And you know, it was great talking to you, and best of luck. And we're going to part ways. And what typically happens is they're like, whoa, right? Like they want to keep talking, and they're like, well, there's value, and then the conversation continues.
See, that's a great approach right there. When you pull away, it's amazing how they come to you, and you're not like desperate and forcing. You're not just transactional. And I can see why you're training at the enterprise level, because it's these types of things. They're long sales cycles, and at times you might need to walk away. It's a a give and take, you know, push and pull. And what about, you had a good insight on following. Yeah.
Sorry. I want to just tell you one thing, and I want to give a shout out, like you were giving shout outs to one of the greatest sales leaders I've ever had, which is a guy by the name of Tony Rodoni, which is
Tony Rodoni. What a name. He should be famous.
It's an amazing name. It's an amazing name. And he was at Salesforce for a long time, and he was a very beloved leader. Now he's at Bessemer, and he's, advising startups and things like that.
Way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's legit. He's one of the best leaders I've ever had. And he is one of the people who was responsible for bringing Sandler into Salesforce and standardizing like hundreds and hundreds of reps who were wildly successful using it. And he used to always say, you should sell like you're independently wealthy.
And
when I
like that.
Like $85,000 a year, like back in the day, I was like, I'm not independently wealthy. Like I kind of never, it took me a while to really get comfortable with that, but you have to be willing to walk away and show the prospect you're willing to walk away, because your time is just as valuable as their time. Right.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Good. Like I wanted to riff on that too, but you go. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, like, they can smell your desperation, right? And so you can't be like that. You have to, and this is another Sandler thing too that they really teach, is like your attitude and your mindset. So when you go into a call, you go in with equal business stature. So even if your title is just SDR or SMBAE and you're talking to a CEO, you're equals. You are both adults, and you're having a conversation, and you're seeing if you're both a good fit for each other, and you're just having an honest, transparent conversation. And so you kind of get yourself in that headspace and you sell with that. And once you kind of get comfortable with that feeling and the language and communication that Sandler teaches you, oh man, it instills so much confidence. And that's a through line in your sales cycle,
Yeah. I mean, I think you're hitting on some powerful concepts in like self-development and creating the life we want, where you need to focus on being today the person you're becoming. Like, how would the person who is independently wealthy actually show up? You might not be independently wealthy, but you can behave in that way. And it's amazing how that can attract it. And I heard a story that I'm just going to really simplify. I don't know if it's true, but Steven Spielberg apparently would, there was like a Hollywood set, and he would show up, and there were some bouncers or security people, and they'd say, what's your name? And it's Steven Spielberg. And they said, oh, you're not on the list. He's like, what? No, I'm on the list. I should be on the list. And he had such confidence, acting like the future star he would become. Wow. And he actually convinced them, apparently, the way he was being, to let him in. And he made this like makeshift trailer. And at an early age, apparently, I'm just kind of making this, what I thought was the story that I heard secondhand. He kept showing up like that, and he was acting like the person he was bound to become. So it's like, can you channel that today? And but then you get there, and it is, imagine independently wealthy and selling, and the abundance just keeps flowing. So I love it. And
a little bit, they always say, dress for the role that you want, not the role that you have, right? Like, wear the baller suit.
I dressed up for this, Jen. This was a special occasion. Okay. I know I didn't. I actually was going to wear, now my puppy's on it over there. Well, I don't know if you can see her. Hold on.
Oh, there she is. Yeah.
There's a shirt that I was going to wear, and I'm dressing nice today. So I love it. Isn't perception pretty important? It's something within our control. And there she is.
There she is. Is she
Isn't Jen an inspiration? Because you're sassy. Bella's a good girl. How did you, okay, this is a quick question, and then I have a couple more on Sandler, and we can round out, because we're actually 57 minutes in. And did you have a hard stop if we went a few minutes over, or are we able to?
I'm okay.
Okay. And so how would you show up in terms of, you're selling at the highest level. Are you like business casual, or were you business professional? Like how? Yeah.
I love this question. Oh, I love this question. You show up how your customers show up.
Oh,
here are some examples. Here are two examples. So I told you I do some event speaking. I do like facilitation. I do like fundraising auctions.
Wow.
I do some corporate stuff. So I do some contract work at Facebook, at Meta.
Cool.
I contract with them to do their new hire onboarding. And so they're onboarding like 300 to 500 people every week. So they're in hyper growth mode. And remember, I told you about the engineers who were the kings and the queens?
Yeah.
They are, and they're building like crazy on their AI. They're the kings and queens at Facebook. And
That's not a sales culture like Salesforce is what
yeah,
you're saying.
no, it's very engineering culture, and so when I go there, I'm on stage in front of, hundreds of people every week. And I have, my headset and I do my hair and makeup. And there's like the whole production team, everything's video. There's a big stage. It's like a big, big production. And you know what I wear? I wear jeans and sneakers and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Because that's what the engineers wear. That's what they wear. And they said, don't come in a suit or like anything fancy like that. They're not going to trust you. You're not going to have that, rapport. So you dress like your clientele. And here's another example is that when I went to the Sandler Sales Conference, which was in Florida, and there are different Sandler people from all over. And, the East Coast has a little bit more of a formal culture than like the West Coast tech culture, right? And so I go to this conference and I'm like wearing jeans, I'm wearing Birkenstocks because it's super hot. They were like cute Birkenstocks. They were like fancy gold ones, but I was so out of place. Everyone else was in like their sport coats and their slacks, and there were women who were in full suits, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I called my husband. I was like, I can't believe I'm wearing Birkenstocks to this freaking conference right now. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, you should know better. And I'm like, well, I'm at the Facebook culture. I'm at like the Bay Area tech culture is very different. And so it was like, oh, that was just, so you've got to just match your clients where they are. Right.
That's a good principle for us to take away, is mirror and match your clients. And I even had that lesson learned at Google where, anyone who follows this podcast and channel, they hear my stories recycled. So bear with me, but anyways, it's new, they haven't, but I joined Google, and my first sales kickoff in Vegas, I was feeling myself. I dressed up in a suit and tie. Woo! And this girl asked me out and she says, oh, guys who wear suits and ties are insecure. And so that was off base, but at the same time, it did not match the Google culture.
Yeah.
Early, I got the job because I was googly. I broke into singing Lean on Me when you are strong in the interview. And I said,
what?
Bryce, here I go on a tangent, but I said, Bryce, he was an engineer. He was doing my googliness interview, my final round. I said, has anyone ever sang for you in an interview? He said, no, but they've tap danced. And apparently people are singing and dancing their way into Google, or at least trying to. And so that interview went well. And he actually admitted, he's like, I hope you get it. He wasn't he's a part of the committee. And, but the point is, so I did bring the googliness, bring your full self, the quirkiness. But I'm just saying, once I was in it, it was just a reminder, Jen, that kind of matched the culture. But at the same time, it felt good. I wanted to wear my suit.
Totally.
But, so mirror and match is the point. And it's fun sharing stories together. Just a couple more questions for you, and then we can sign off. This isn't the last time we'll come together for a great conversation. But we just got to get to a few fundamental aspects of Sandler, which is like the upfront contract and the pain, because I just want to, at least at a high level, to wet the whistle, if that makes sense, or get people curious about it to learn more. So what is the upfront contract? Maybe we could give like a little example, and then we'll get to the pain funnel next, and then we can close it out.
The upfront contract is like the most important thing that there is. So remember, we talked about sales being just about communication, human psychology, and building trust, right? And so when you get on a sales call, people are like, okay, I'm going to get pitched something. How long is this going to take? Are they going to go? Like, people want to know what to expect. So I actually even wrote down an upfront contract because I knew you were going to ask me this, and I wanted to nail it for you. Yeah. So first, let me just set it up for you. So when you get on a call with someone, you want to let them know, you want to confirm how much time you have, right? So you're not like, oh, sorry, I have to go. And you're like, wait, let me just get to the last pages of my proposal, right? And what your goals are, and then ask for their approval. Is that okay with you? Are you good with that? So you get like a mutual agreement.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm laughing because, Jen, it's funny. Like, I have my coaching and I teach this, and I forgot I am teaching Sandler. Like, this is what I teach. And it's like, also, you'll have to meet him at some point. Justin J. Johnson, he was ex-Salesforce. He's a great coach in the industry. I don't know if I pinged you in LinkedIn about it. And his intro for discovery calls is actually, and now we have Salesforce. So no surprise, but it's funny. Again, Sandler is such an impact on this industry. It's like this universe. So I have to say, that's why I'm laughing. I'm just like, these are the things I do.
That's why I told you, like, it's so funny because so many sales coaches and trainers, even if they're not training Sandler, they kind of are, because Sandler's the OG, but it's just because it's human psychology and communication. So like at the beginning, here's what I might have said at the beginning. I'm not going to use my templated one that's perfect, but I'm going to say, here's what I would say at the beginning of this podcast is I'd say, Chris, thanks so much for having me on your podcast. We're scheduled for an hour. Is that right?
Yeah, an hour works. I do have a hard stop.
Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. So, my goal is to learn all about you and what you're working on. And I want to share a little bit about me and make sure that we give your users or your listeners a ton of great information and tips. Of course, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. And then at the end, we can figure out what makes sense for us in terms of next steps. Does that sound okay to you?
Oh, it sounds great. And I love it. It's so smooth how you worded it. It's like so chill. It's so like, that's my experience of it. It's like, it's just soft and non-aggressive, professional conversation. And by the way, I'm coaching people to break into tech sales to use some of these upfront contracts when appropriate to show professionalism in their interviews.
Yes.
And so it's like, they're like, I actually encourage them to take charge and say something like, I really appreciate the time. And I imagine you have a lot of questions for me to evaluate my candidacy, and I'm happy to answer those. And I also have prepared some very specific questions for you about the opportunity. I'm really excited for the conversation. Now, in this case, I'm not doing what is critically important, which is getting buy-in. Does that sound good for you? Yeah. But it's funny. I don't know. It was my gut and my own flavor of coaching for people breaking in. I'm trying to share with them, like, show a little flair of how you might run a discovery conversation. So that's amazing. That's great coaching. And here's the other thing I would coach your people on for interviews. Yeah. Okay. The first thing that always happens is your introduction, right? Tell me a little bit about you, Chris. Oh, of course.
How many times have you said that to someone and they give you like their whole life story, and it takes 10 minutes out of the 30-minute call for them to tell you a little bit about themselves? You can't do that. And so another thing that Sandler teaches is the 30-second commercial, right? And there's a whole playbook on how you create this, but you want to like get to the point and make it like really simple, make it related to them. So instead of saying, wait, Chris, if you said to me, hey, Jen, what do you do? Right? That's another common question. How many times you say, hey, what do you do? And someone launches into this like long diatribe, and it like they sound.
I've been doing it lately when people ask me about the business because I'm all excited. But I can fall into that trap.
Right. And so if you said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a sales trainer. It'd be like, ooh, I don't really want to hear anymore. Like they're going either way. Right. But how about if I say, I help organizations who are frustrated with reps who are underperforming and not hitting their quota, hit their revenue targets or something like that. Right. Or
that's like, it could hit on a hot button that is relevant to me as a leader. And that's like, oh shoot, we're facing that challenge. Let me lean in a bit. This is relevant rather than I'm a sales trainer. It's like, I guess what I'm getting from it is it's not about what you are, but it's like, what value do you provide? What do you solve for? And you're leading on that.
Bingo. Yeah. Or if you're on an interview and they're like, tell me a little bit about yourself. You know what you do? You write that down, you get your key points and you tailor it to that call. And then you practice it a bunch of times. It should take less than 1 minute, maybe 2 at the most, to tell a little bit about yourself and write down the main bullet points and then practice it. Because you know you can say that. So just be ready for it and let it just be like smooth like butter fall, instead of just like this rambly thing.
Butter, I'm on a roll. I used to say that, but smooth like butter. And, one thing I say too, I have to throw it in, but we could riff for like multiple podcasts. So I'll cut myself off after this, but, rather than tell you about my whole life story, I want to focus on a few specific aspects of my experience, the results I produced, the skill sets and qualities I've developed that are going to help me succeed and hit the ground running in this role and drive revenue for the business. So first off, so, and obviously I've been doing this, and like you said, I've been practicing.
I can tell that. Well, Not
I'm practicing. And working with people,
so
and it's
good, Chris. Yeah.
Thank you. And so we need to talk one off because I need a little, I want some guidance from you and your journey. You're on stages, and there's a lot I need to learn from you. But it's fun how we're sharpening ourselves here. And it's, if anything, like the role playing concept was huge that we hit on. You got to practice, and that's ultimately how you eliminate nerves, right? You've practiced. When you show up, it's game time. You already done this 1,000 times, and you're acting like the person you're becoming, that you're independently wealthy, or Steven Spielberg projecting in the future. And so anyways, I'm fired up, but you did a great job with this upfront contract that you said is foundational. Is there anything you would add to it? I mean, you already gave a full example before we go to the pain funnel. And we can stop there. I know you got a family to get to, and we'll have more conversations. But anything else you'd add to the upfront contract, or are you ready to dive into the pain funnel?
We can do the pain funnel.
Okay. Yeah. Can you just walk us through what it is, and then we could do a little like going into it. It could be a role play, like what that looks like. Because I used to have it on in my little cubicle at Oracle, and we had these white little whiteboard walls, and I had it taped on the wall. I used to have it in my cubicle. So tell us about the pain funnel.
That's great because you're practicing it and you're keeping it top of mind. So the pain funnel is like the secret sauce, right? And I'm just going to say with the caveat that there are Sandler sales trainers who do this like, so well. And I'm still practicing. I'm still getting good at it. But I use this all the time at Salesforce during your discovery. So here's the thing. The pain funnel is all rooted on this fact that people justify rationally, but they buy emotionally.
Yes.
Okay. And so let me tell you how that works. So let's say you're selling software, or just say you're selling CRM, because that's what I sold. Okay. So the first thing is you're talking to someone and it's like, why are we on this call? Like, what's going on? And so they start telling you pain, pain, pain. Our reps are missing our numbers. Things are falling through the cracks. Right. And it's just, we call that first level pain. It's just like, things that are happening and causing pain, right?
Yes.
Making them uncomfortable. Okay, so you get all that down, listen. And then it's like, the next question is like, so how is that affecting the business? Like, and so you want to quantify that. So what's an average deal cycle? Okay. And, and you kind of, they call it like a back of a napkin ROI, right? Where it's like, okay, so, you're losing these deals, what's the average deal cycle? The more data that you can get around it, the better. But you want to get to a point where it's like, all right, last quarter we missed by, 15% because key deals slipped. Okay. So you missed by 15%. And what's the target, for that, let's say for that rep, it's 2 million. Okay. So you lost 300K in revenue. Like, wow. So suddenly you've gone from like deals are slipping. What the heck does that mean? To like 300K in revenue. Wow. Okay. And then it's like that's the second level of pain, is the quantification.
Yes. And also it's like, I love what you said there, and I'm nerding out right now, and you're Mrs. Numbers in the sheets, it sounds like, or Excel, I guess. But I also wonder, you're missing 300K, but is this person at risk of getting fired? And then what's the cost of?
Oh, you're so
I hear that is really expensive.
So good.
To get rid of an employee rather than upskilling when Jen comes in. The upskill. So
yes, that's
that's the thing I thought about. And it's only, I'm Mr. Analytical, and sometimes it actually gets in the way in sales, like where you don't want to overanalyze, but at the right time. So anyways, had to throw that in there as we
I love that. The more that you can quantify, and that's part of the discovery, and you prepare your customer for this, right? You did that in the upfront contract. I want to ask you a lot of questions about what's going on in your business now and how that's affecting you. So that I can come back and let you know how we might be able to help. Is that okay, Chris? So you're getting permission to ask them these questions, right? And so after you've quantified the pain, after you've quantified what it means that deals are slipping through the cracks, it means 300K, per rep. Then it's like, okay, Chris, how is that affecting you personally? Right. And they might say, it's incredibly stressful. Like, I'm in front of the board every month. I'm trying to explain what's going wrong. And I'm losing sleep over it, and I'm just, I'm worried I'm going to lose my job. So, whoa, you've gone from like some deals are slipping through the cracks and it's, kind of frustrating. We're not productive, to you're not sleeping at night and you're going to lose your job. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I have to say, Jen, like, I had the privilege of having people like you and another queen, actually, because I've been really on a rampage of, I don't know why rampage came out, bringing more queens on the channel, because we've been guy heavy. And Emma, she covers the largest account at AWS in retail, $40 billion company. She just signed a $57 million deal, and she closed $250 million deals, was her biggest.
Wow.
And she talked about the reality of closing those deals. And shoot, I am losing my train of thought. What were we talking about leading up to it?
About losing sleep. You might lose your
Yeah,
job.
yes, thank you, Jen. Oh my gosh.
I got
The
you.
deal that was you're amazing. The deal that was 250 million, it was tied towards something personal. The CIO was getting ready to retire and he wanted to go out with one more big win. Now, it wasn't a pain, but it's like, I believe that you are onto gold of, if you can get personal, especially with an executive, like what this, they're losing sleep and they're missing their daughter's soccer practice.
Yep.
This is so meaningful. This deal is their opportunity to do one more big transformation at their organization.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually a key component of monster deals, you know, and or any deal. So I had to throw in that anecdote, and you helped me remember.
You know what? I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's actually technically called a pain gain funnel.
Oh,
Because this example was me telling you about their pain, the missed 300.
Oh, pain gain.
But there could also, no, I didn't mention the gain, because I was just going to give you the pain example, because normally it's pain that people buy, but it could also be for a perceived gain. If we like, this guy was like, I want to go out on this high note, right?
Yeah.
Perceived gain, or the gain could also be, if we do this, we're going to close a 300K deal, right? So it can swing both ways. It can be a pain or a gain. But here's the clincher, is that by establishing trust at the beginning with things like upfront contract, where you're telling them what's going to happen and you're sticking to it, you're building that trust, which gets you to think about, for that CIO to say that to her, I'm going to retire and I really want to go out on this high note. Like, whoa, he told his sales rep that? Well, because she's not a sales rep. She's equal business stature with him, and he's confiding in her on that third level gain, right? And that's, so people justify rationally, they buy emotionally, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
Right?
And Emma, what we talked about, by the way, is it was unbelievable, the elegance and simplicity of what she does. Her first meeting, she listens.
Yeah.
She is not pitching anything. And I know you know this, but the way she just asks simple, it starts very simple, but it's quite strategic. The questions he asks, like, oh, how's your day going? How's your week been? And slowly but surely gets to know them and builds trust. And she says, she has this fun expression, just have a nice cup of shut the F up. And I actually bought a sign somewhere that I pulled out in our podcast, because she's in Austin. So we're in studio, and one day we should get in studio. It'd be really fun. So it's cool to see the parallels of you and how you approach it, how she does successfully clues. And I remember some other questions, like, how long has that been a problem? What have you tried to do about it? And other things too, like, you know, and obviously we can get into like what happens if you don't do anything, and like, like more generally in my sales approach, of course, and I know you do this, you try and find, like, is there a compelling event to drive some urgency?
Bingo. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add in terms of good questions? I feel complete. This conversation is amazing, but just any final thoughts on?
You know, I'm not going to add any final thoughts. You know why? Because the listeners have to go convince their boss that they want Sandler sales training.
Yeah, and bring in Jen.
And they're going to call up Jen, the sassy sales coach, to give it to them. And on that note, I'll just tell you about my name, the sassy sales coach. And really, it's just because I want to be memorable. So there's a lot of people out there who do sales coaching. And so everyone talks about, and you know this, Chris, your niche, right?
Yeah.
The riches are in the niches, they say. And so you
right.
have to figure out, how are you different than the other folks? And Chris, what you do is actually so specific, and it's such a niche that I know whenever I come across anyone who's trying to break into tech, or who's like trying to figure out, you know, who's like new in the workforce and trying to break into this, I'm like, oh, boom, I got Chris.
You're amazing, by the way. You're so generous. You've passed multiple people my way already. It's amazing, and it says a lot. You know, And I think that's partly what's made you very successful, is you're contributing to people, like everyone around you. Because thank you for that. So, and also good point. It is a niche, right? Because I had a YouTube channel called Pursuit of Possibility.
Right.
That I love personal growth, inventing new possibilities for ourselves and the world and future. Let's go. I'm talking about the power of acknowledgement, but then I realized, let's niche down. So to your point, so you're the sassy sales coach.
Yeah.
Like, tell us about that niche.
I'll tell you about that niche, and I'm still working on developing it. So I'm working on my website right now. And so I've been hyper focused on actually gathering information and shutting up and listening. So I'm meeting with a lot of different sales leaders right now to figure out what's going on in your business. What do you need from a sales coach to kind of figure out what my niche can be more specifically? But, I was in software sales for over 15 years. I had a really successful track record. I have a big network of people who are all in software sales. Yeah. And so I didn't want to just be Jen Freeman, the sales coach. It's like, who's going to remember that? Yeah. And so, there's other folks out there with amazing names. So I'll give a shout out to Demand Jen.
Oh, yeah. She's awesome. I need to bring her on at some point. We messaged, but yeah, she's definitely a lot of respect for what she's built. And it's such a good name. Demand.
Such a good name. And she's similar to me, where she was at Challenger, another amazing sales training company. And then she went out on her own. So I'm doing something a little similar, where it's like, I'm going out on my own, but I'm also kind of attaching my wagon to a well-known brand. Yeah. And so folks can contract directly with me, the Sassy Sales Coach, and just do, thought leader, thought partnership and mentorship and things like that. Or they can do Sandler sales training. But I wanted to have a name where people could recognize me. And it was kind of fun, because my whole approach is, I do a lot of public speaking, and I like to be a little bit silly. Like I kind of overshare sometimes. I'm fine with being vulnerable. I like to make it
remind me of myself.
Totally. I know, that's why we are like so simpatico. Yeah. And so I'm like, I need a fun name. And it was just driving me. I was really trying to figure out, I used ChatGPT like for so long, like, what about this? What about this? And then I listened to a podcast randomly, and it was some guy saying something about SaaS coaching or something. And I'm like, well, for some reason I was like, yeah, the sassy coach. It just kind of came to me. Yeah. And I was so excited. I like barged out of my room, and I told my husband, I was like, I got it. I finally got the name. And so I'm having fun with that. And so I just trying to create something that's a little bit memorable, that's a little bit cheeky, so that people remember me.
Well, this was an unforgettable conversation. We were inspired. We got the look under the hood at the mindset of someone who has just risen up on this path and been really the meal ticket for her family. And now is the sassy sales coach, lifting people up. And it's going to be fun to look back in future podcasts to see how far both of us have come. And, to the audience, thank you guys for showing up. And clearly you're invested in your personal and professional development. And make sure to connect with Jen. And if you're selling at a company, I know our audience, they're selling at top companies. Y'all are killing it. Bring Jen up potentially to your manager to, see about her coming in to bring some sass and bring some great insight to your organization. Jen, is there anything else you'd add as we sign off? Otherwise, we will tie a bow in this great conversation.
I'll tell you, my favorite quote is, you can't direct the wind, but you can adjust your sail.
Oh.
So, all you can control is yourself. You can't control all the other noise, but you can control your action, your reaction, your attitude. So try to stay positive, be gritty, be sassy, have fun.
Yes.
Would love to connect with everyone. And thank you, Chris, for being so generous and hosting me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing. And I'm so excited to see what happens in the next couple of years. I know you're going to be great.
Thank you so much. What a great conversation. And y'all, it's time to adjust our sails and continue to. What a great final note to end on. Jen, thank you. I look forward to the next conversation. And to the audience, to your success in tech sales and in life. Happy selling and happy living. And we'll see you in the next one.